Okay, so we've got Carol here. He's going to tell us a little bit about her clutter and her clutter clearing and how she's been getting on. So, Carol,
Yes.
you're not in the UK, are you? Tell us where you come from.
I live in British Columbia, Canada, in a place called Coquitlam, and that would be considered in the greater Vancouver area.
So that's not the same place as where I'm helping you with clearing your clutter,
No.
is it quite? So
Not normally.
we've just done 2 weeks of
Yes.
quite intensive clutter clearing in order to get a real good boost going.
Yeah.
But before you started working with me,
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk a little bit about your clutter and your clutter challenge. How long had you had your clutter before you contacted me and started getting help from me?
Some of it I had probably almost 15 years, due to the fact that my ex-husband was just such a doll. Boy, Wonder was a doll, and he gave me a weekend to move out of a 5,500 square foot home, and it was fast, it was furious, I didn't sleep at night. We were dumpster diving for boxes. We ended up getting garbage bags to still get things out of that house, and the hardest thing I think was that there was a lot of things left in the crawl space that didn't belong to me really. It was from it was the company prior to the construction company that we at the time currently had, but I had to get it out of there. And I was told if I wasn't out by, and I knew that they were just threatening me, but I kept that in the back of my mind because of our history. That if I wasn't off the property by 12 noon on the Monday, that they were going to phone the RCMP stating that I was trespassing.
So that quick exit,
Mm-hmm.
how did that cause your clutter challenge?
I didn't have any opportunity to go through what I had that I needed, that I wanted. It was just I had to clear the house.
So where did a lot of that go?
Initially, a lot of it went initially I was homeless for 2 weeks, and I guess I could say that I rented 2 storage spots. One that had the things in that I thought that I would be, when I found a place to live, that I'd be using there. And then just the other stuff, whatever it might have been, it went into another storage place.
So when you finally got to a point of starting to deal with your clutter challenge, what was your approach? How did you try to deal with it?
Some of it I still haven't dealt with.
Uh-huh.
Because it's still in storage.
Uh-huh. So some of it came out
Yes.
when you did find a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you were going through that, were you what we call a piler or a weeder? Did you move things from corner to corner, room to room? Did you buy storage solutions? How did you try to deal with the clutter and get things straight?
Okay, and after I had lived in 2 different townhouses that were quite small, I then finally moved to Port Coquitlam because I was going to be going back to school, and because there's a river between here and where I was living, and I didn't want to bother with renewing restraining orders because they're not worth the paper that they're written on where I live now. And so I rented a house that had a double garage that my car never stayed in, never lived in, But there, I did have, because I had a store also that I had to clear out fast in a day. A lot of that was also, that came with me to the house, and I did sort through that. And I had a big garage sale. I made $700 in a day, which was pretty, you know.
Yeah, it's good.
It's not bad. And however, there were still items that I never got to have I never had, because I was also going to school full time while I was living in that house. I never got to the other things that were in storage.
So when you went on the internet and ultimately found Clutter Clearing, what was it?
Found my Clare Baker. My Clare Bear. Yeah.
So what was it that made you go searching for help? What was, if you like, the trigger that said, hey, you know what, I want to deal with this, but I need a bit of help to deal with it? What was it that made you reach that point?
My way wasn't working. That's ultimately what it came down to.
Yeah.
And I felt overwhelmed with it all. And I felt like I needed help in figuring out how to take care of it.
So when we started working together,
Yes.
and you experienced the clutter clearing process for the first time, for which there are lots of little elements, but the key one that most people are most surprised by is the fact that you have 7 choices rather than just keep charity. What surprised you most when you started using that process, when we started doing those sessions together?
That I found it made sense to me. I didn't feel like I was under the gun to make a decision right then and there, because I had not sure. And that was something that I never thought of or had ever known about. So with having not sure or unknown, that gave me a wonderful option.
Did it help with the sense of overwhelm and pressure?
Definitely. And then by going through it every day, or whenever I did go through it every day, I believe. Even if I didn't have a session, things eventually did, either they found a home in one of the other categories.
Now, we have worked one-to-one via Skype.
Yes.
So you've had one-to-one private coaching, but you have also joined the live sessions on the Clutter Clearing TV channel.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody who can't quite imagine, maybe somebody has seen the TV programs where experts go in and help them do a blitz and do the Keep Chuck charity, which we know we have a different way of doing it. But for somebody who's perhaps watching this and thinking, how can Claire help someone, or how can Claire help me without coming to my home? How would you explain how I've managed to help you clear your clutter via Skype or via the Clutter Clearing TV channel? How do they work for you?
Basically by following your process that you use. And I've seen those shows, and what they're not mentioning or anything, which has been a huge help to me, is the conveyor belt. And we talk a lot about the conveyor belt.
We do. We do. We have to get that accumulation under control before we can do anything, and you've done fantastically with doing that. Now, you did have an experience when you first started working with me, didn't you, where you became aware of the accumulation and you went into a shop called Staples. Do you remember telling me about that?
Where I felt sick to my stomach. Yeah.
And that was because?
It was just, I previously was somewhat of a stationary, I don't want to say hoarder, but I just love stationery and different colors of pens and all that kind of thing, which now pretty much is in a drawer. And I honestly thought that I was gonna, it was like there was just way too much information coming at me, and I only went in for I went there obviously for a reason, for one or two items, but just even, and that went on for a long time, because even over at the Coquitlam Center where we've been, it took me a long time to be able to walk in there and just go in and get my item that I need, because it was like, it was just like, I don't know, it wasn't like, in a way, it was kind of like the stores are kind of everybody's pulling at me to come in and shop and buy and all that kind of stuff.
So since you started to control the accumulation end, have you noticed that you've had more money in your pocket, because actually you're not impulse buying like you
Oh,
were?
I haven't. I'm positive that I do have more money. I just have never, I didn't keep track previously. So without keeping track previously, I didn't have anything to compare it to. But obviously, I've had to save money.
And would you say that this new awareness of the conveyor belt and the accumulation, and indeed of the making decisions and allowing yourself time to make the decisions, would you say this is a new way of being?
Oh, definitely. But it's a very good way of being. And even when I went to the Minto Cup game, I said, and I may buy a T-shirt, but I'll get rid of 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead, like if I bring home 1,
Yeah.
I'll get rid of 3.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care. And normally I would have bought one, because it's rare that we have the Minto Cup here, which in the Minto Cup is lacrosse, and it's the best 18 to 21-year-old lacrosse players in Canada. And it's in different locations across Canada. I think the last one that was here was 4 or 5 years ago. And
so normally you would have bought yourself a souvenir of something that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
But you resisted.
Yes.
And that's a huge
change.
Huge change.
Because I don't know, they just didn't look that appealing to me, for one thing, and I just thought, no.
It's a need.
And it wasn't because I'm thinking, oh, well, if I buy this, I have to get rid of 3. That had nothing to do with it at all.
And that
wasn't a big deal.
That's made a big difference. In the live sessions that we do on the Clutter Clearing TV channel,
yes.
How do you find the support and the sharing from other people who are doing it at exactly the same time as you? Does that make a difference?
Well, unfortunately, due to my head injuries, I've done my best. Like when you say, so, go to a few other people and let them know that they've done a good job. I sort of write a blanket one, because it's not.
But does it help you knowing that there are other people doing it at the same time? Is it nice to know you're not on your own as much?
Well, I think I've been a bit spoiled. That's the truth of the matter. I've been spoiled with my one-to-ones.
So,
but I'm not. But yes, of course it does.
Yeah. So, what has surprised you most about your clutter clearing journey?
That I don't know. The conveyor belt has made just such a huge difference in my life. Things are not coming in that I think to myself, oh geez, that's cute, or oh look at that cute, that's a nice top, I think I'll go in and I'll, oh it's on sale even.
Mm-hmm.
I don't bother with that stuff, so obviously I have more time. Mm-hmm. And I don't, it's a simpler way of life. Mm-hmm. For me.
Yeah, definitely.
Things get much simpler because I'm not dealing with buying things and that I don't really need. And even sometimes what I'll do, even if I think I need it, I'll still leave it for 24 hours. And when I come back to it the next day and think, okay, so what are you gonna do about that? And more often than not, I don't go back and get it.
So what advice would you have for somebody who's thinking about starting their clutter clearing journey and has seen this very different way of doing it? It's not like the TV programs, it's not like the decluttering books.
Yeah, when they walk into their home and it's like, oh, nothing's been done.
So what advice would you say to somebody who's considering starting their clutter clearing journey, which we know it takes longer than a blitz
It needs big bruise.
and involves creating new habits? What one piece of advice would you have for somebody thinking about starting their clutter clearing journey?
Just like Nike, do it. Now, yesterday. Because of the process that you have evolved your Clare's Clutter Clearing consultancy from, and over the past couple of years, I see it still evolving, so to speak, because there are little changes here